Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm Richard and welcome to Pork Chop Fabrication, part 2 of building our Toyota rock sliders. Okay, so in part 1 where we left off, we welded all these kickouts and the braces and the landing pads together, welded them to the square tubing, measured, cut, fitted everything up to the vehicle. Now towards the end of the first video, we did have this piece tacked in place, which is the little kick out round tube and the little standoff pieces. Now, as it was sitting there, I kept looking at it and I was just not happy with how it was sitting. The reason being was the distance between each standoff was too great for my liking. I wanted to add one more, and I figured now is the time to do it before it's all finished welded and put into place. So instead of having 2 and then the 45 angle cuts at the end, I'm gonna add one more in, so it's gonna be 3 standoff pieces just for a little extra strength. My biggest fear would be weld this all up, just have 2 of them in, and this distance is so great that if I come up on a rock, it'll wanna flex and bend and ding. Not saying that it will. I believe it would be a pretty strong hit. This is 120 wall DOM, but still, you never know, and it's so close to the door that if it does get the ding or one of these bend, because it's not held in with enough support, it's going to create a headache for me at the end of the day trying to get that door open or bend it back. In the process, my original plan was to sleeve this with solid aluminum bar stock. I had no plans on double walling the supports out here, but while I was trying to hit it with a hammer and break my tacks, I learned 2 things. One, my tacks are pretty dang strong because it took quite a beating to get this off with just holding on 4 tacks each time. 2, I understand it was a directed blow and it was with a hammer and repeated in the same spot, but this still dented. And my worry is if I keep coming down on the tubing or down on this, it may start denting over time and start weakening and bending and stuff. So I definitely wanted to sleeve these as well. What I'm doing right now is I got the round tube, that's fine. Kick out, that's gonna be attached by these guys. And I'm just kind of placing it in line, seeing where I want it. I'm going from the center out. I found out that most of the time when I'm working with stuff that I want to be symmetrical, I usually start from the center and then just work one side and figure out my spacing on one side. That way I can just duplicate it on the other side, and then for the driver's side rock slider, I can do the exact same thing all over again. Very easy to reproduce and duplicate. So I got my center marked and just one piece right there. I cut this piece of, it's actually of a manila folder. You can use chipboard or cardboard, whatever is available at hand for you. And I just cut it out a 3-inch because I'm going to be using a 3-inch flat bar right here. And then I cut a 45 into it and just cut it kind of down to size for a rough estimate for visual purposes of where I want it. And I have it taped up and sitting right there. At least for visually, we can see the spacing where I want this center runner to be, cut it into quarters. I'm just using this little chalk pen and I mark real easy. That way if I have to change it, erase it, and then start over with new measurements. So what I came up with is about 13 inches in between each one of these little kick out support pieces. And it leaves me 13 inches, about 13 and a half inches from the bottom of the 45-degree kick out at the end. Now I'm not too worried about this being exactly symmetrical or spaced exactly even, because the eye is going to trick you, because since this is at a 45-degree angle, you're not going to be able to get a good measurement.
The second one's on the floor cooling. Let's kind of recap how we built them. We used 2x2 3/16 inch square tubing for this part, and also the kickouts that run back to the frame. We used 3/16 inch plate as landing pads to weld to the frame. For the standoffs, we used 1 3/4 inch round DOM tubing, 120 wall, double sleeved, which with 1.5 inch 120 wall tubing. For the angled ends, we used 3/16 inch plate. For the front, it's at a 45-degree angle, and at the rear, it's more, I believe, around a 30-degree angle kicked inward. We did not do a kick out for the rear tires. And for this tubing, we used 1 3/4 inch 120 wall round tubing with a solid aluminum slug ran inside it to prevent any dings, dents, bends. They're probably a little bit overbuilt, but I'd much rather overbuild them now than cry out on the trail and have more of a problem with the doors not opening. So for most, these rock sliders would be complete, done, awesome. But I want to go a step further. I have some of these LED lights right here. The factory Toyota running boards came with courtesy lights, so when you open up the door, they illuminate. I wanted to keep it as factory as possible, so I'm going to run 2 or 3 courtesy lights on the bottom of these, as well as plug in an additional 2 or 3 for rock lights for crawling at night. So since they're not powder coated yet, I figured this is a perfect time to start making some brackets for these. I'm going to be using 1/8 inch steel, just a scrap piece that used to be the tabletop. Mark it up, cut it out, drill it, and then weld it in place. I set the rockers up back on the vehicle using a jack and some vice grips. That way I can eyeball where I want the lights to be and where I want them to shine. I'm just using a scrap piece of 1/8 inch steel plate, or sheet of metal for that matter. Just marking them by 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch squares, and then marking the center to drill out a 3/4 inch hole. I find it most easiest to drill it while it's still attached to the larger sheet of metal, seeing that it's going to be a large hole on a small piece of metal. That way it's easier to secure, and then cut them out all at once after I've drilled them. Now that I got all the light tabs cut out, sanded, and deburred, I'm placing them where I had them previously marked on the vehicle. I'm just using the flap disc and rounding the edges to knock off any sharp edges. I'm using a 1/4 inch piece of aluminum to space them up from the bottom of the rock slider. That way they have protection from any rocks they might come in contact with. I'm going with 5 lights on each rock slider, 3 courtesy lights, and 2 rock lights per side. This is a repetitive task of grinding, fitting, tacking, and welding each little tab into place. As you can see, these little guys are zip tie tabs. that I have welded on. They come in weld-on versions and bolt-on versions. I opted for the weld-on version for the rock sliders. They're going to hold all the wiring for the rock lights and the courtesy lights. So the light's going to go in through here, and then it's going to be loomed and just zip tied right there. They're from a company called TMR. You could see that. They come in a little sheet, packages of, I believe, 25, 50, and 75. This is just the 25 package. It's a plate of metal. I think you could cut out the TMR for a keychain. I think that's why there's a hole right there. I don't know. I may be wrong. But they're all laser cut out and then just come in the sheet, and you got to break them off, the little tabs, and weld them on wherever you want, which is super convenient when you're building custom rock sliders or anything else for that matter that needs a custom weld on application. Like I said, they also come in bolt-on from TMR, and I believe they come in different sizes too. So check this company out. Pretty cool. TMR Customs. You can find them on Instagram. So got the rock sliders all welded up. They're fitted in place one last time, just a mock fitment before powder coating. We got to do some slight trimming to the fenders. Hopefully these videos showed you how to make some rock sliders. We didn't even use a tube bender for them. Very basic cut off wheel and chop saw to make most of them, and they still have contours and styling to them. I feel like I'm super happy we added in a third brace to it. It just looks a lot more solid than having two standoff braces. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you like, click like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. We do have more projects coming up for this 4runner. Our next videos are going to be the body mount chop or whole new body mount brackets from DRT Fabrication, as well as we're going to be building a front bumper, rear bumper, winch mount. Going to do long travel for this ride, so stick around, see what's up. Hopefully these videos can help you if you're just getting into fabrication, and also help you if you're just getting into rock crawling. Biggest thing is rock sliders, I think, are the most important thing you can do for a rock crawler. It's one of the first modifications you should do. If you can't build them, buy them, but definitely make sure you get some if you're planning on going on the rocks. So anyways, I'm Richard. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Have a good one.